Mr. Vivek K. Sarin, Interim Secretary of the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development. Welcome.
Mr. Jeff Liu, President and CEO of Fuyao Group North America. And let's welcome our moderator, Mr. Ji Tao, President and Editor-in-Chief of China Daily USA.
Okay, nice meeting everyone here. It's a quite, solid afternoon. We have a lot of interesting discussion and yes, I forgot this, too excited. But definitely, I believe you would all agree with me. I mean, we have a very solid afternoon. We have a lot of discussion, and these speakers, expert speakers, shared with us a lot of insights into the current situation between US and China relations, and also looking back and looking forward. But now, let's take a look into some of the specifics. I mean, Chinese investment in the United States has long been, has recently been a very topic. I would like to ask the first question actually to our friend from Kentucky. You came all the way from Kentucky today, and for a moment we worry about whether the traffic would delay you, whether the flight would be late, but fortunately we have you on time. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vivek. And I would like to ask the first question. I mean, just as our host, the young student from Harvard University, Max, mentioned just a while ago, saying that he's from that part of the US, where the manufacturing industry has been slowing down, but somehow some foreign investment has been pouring, money, resources into that region. What is the situation in Kentucky? Can you share with us?
Well, thank you, Ni Hao. It is a real pleasure to be here today. And the situation in Kentucky, in the heartland of America, I would communicate to everybody, is one of great, great encouragement. And my message to the relationship and all of those involved in the U.S.-China situation is one of great encouragement. In Kentucky, in 3.5 years under our governor, we have now set a record of new investment exceeding $21 billion in 3.5 years. And I was just looking at my WeChat account before I came up here, and because we're now friends on WeChat.
Yeah, thanks.
Number 241. But in November, less than a year ago, I never had a WeChat account. And with Governor Bevin, we went to China for the very first time in November. And in 6 days, we had over 28 meetings in 4 different cities. And we hustled. And we hustled primarily because business is a contact sport. And you have to get out from behind your desk. You have to press skin. You have to build relationships. And I would present to everybody that at the state level, in the heartland of America, there is a great message of encouragement, because from that mission trip we took in November, and I would be happy to elaborate on it more, we now have well over $200 million of new investment coming from China in the Bluegrass State, in the state of Kentucky.
That's wonderful. That's
very
wonderful news.
Yeah,
very encouraging. Yeah. Speaking of the manufacturing industry, I think nobody else on this stage would speak better. Would be a better representative than Mr. Liu, Jeff Liu. Jeff Liu is the CEO and president of Fuyao, North America. And recently, I think I have to congratulate on your new role. You have been a movie star. Can you share with us what is the feeling of being a new celebrity?
No, if you're back to 20 years ago, I think I'll be happy. But, as an automotive veteran, our business is very tough. I always talk about automotive as a survival game. To be honest, this is not easy to handle all the kind of the customer requirements, especially, we talk about global, the economy, and typically about automotive. it's global products. When we roll out a new vehicle, pretty much, you're going to sell in China, India, and Europe, and also North America. So this is no boundary. It doesn't matter which country you go. We have a golden rule called the best place to buy and best place to make. So that's the reason, Fuyao as a global company, so we have to follow the customer demand. We're here for JIT. We call it just-in-time delivery. There's no time for shipping, and occasionally there's some, strike on the West Coast. There's a problem for your glass come over overseas. So we have to make sure our glass to be on the assembly plant on time. There's no time to shut the line down. So that's our goal. And talk about the movie, really that's going to show the culture, conflict and the people. So I like the slogan say, coming together, that is what do you call the beginning, okay? So staying together, that's a progress. When you work together, that's a success. Also like the slogan said, teamwork to turn to dreamwork. Doesn't matter which country, what's background going to be, you got to make the great products, great glass for the automotive, for the suppliers, for the customer. That's our mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the movie, from the documentary American Factory, which was recently released, and also the documentary was backed by the President Obama's distribution foundation. I think a lot of people have learned how a Chinese company in the U.S. has been working so hard to fulfill the goal of the company and also fulfill the demands of the customers. That's very impressive. And I remember in one part of the film, and Mr. Liu talked about how to tell the Chinese colleagues how to get together or deal with their American colleagues, how to pay attention to some of the details they have to, because this is a different culture. You have to be sensitive to the new culture so that you can bring together the team. That's a very good practice. And also, the other thing I noticed is that the many workers, who joined Fuyao, they found this job, and they are very happy to have this job because they were laid off because of the close down of the GM many years ago. And now they found these new jobs in Fuyao. They are very, very, happy and feel very lucky. But also, I noticed that most of the workers on the floor are actually in their 50s, 60s, even older. To Mr. Liu, do you think lack of workforce in manufacturing or the willingness to work in manufacturing industry is a problem for the aim of this country to bring back manufacturing? Will that be a problem?
Well, that is the challenge for not only for the automotive, any manufacturing job. So currently, I believe in U.S., we call it deindustrialized for 40 years, okay? And right now, even we want to say we're going to bring the manufacturing job back, but look our young generation, I believe you guys have a teenager go to new college, and I'll give you a perfect example, okay? When you go to the Wall Street, you go to a consulting firm, you work for Google or Facebook, probably I talk about the numbers, the first offer maybe start from 6 figures, $100,000 plus sign bonus. When you go back to manufacturing job, let's say you go to General Motors, as an engineer, starting maybe $60,000 only. So there's a difference because traditional manufacturing job and compare with 40 years ago and today, they're totally different. So it's really hard to find the young, talent people go back to the traditional work. It's kind of boring, but I tell you, as an automotive veteran, I learned a lot from automotive because take a look at the vehicle, there are 20,000 different components, and there's now a lot of new technology. You go to Las Vegas for the SEMA show, okay, you go to the CES show. A lot of new technology can be actually first user with automotive. So we work with Job Ohio, and also we develop a program called What is the New Manufacturer going to be? That's why you're going to see the movie, automation, ergonomics. So people and machine, how they work together, make sure you're going to follow the Industry 4.0, which is the German standard, and you can actually create more challenge job, not only for the load glass and unload glass. You're going to have something new technology. That's why we encourage people, you know what, learn more technology. You're going to control the robotics, so you can make more fun for you to do the traditional manufacturing job. That's the reason we have to learn and offer more trainings, and also start from a young age. Manufacturing is really not the traditional manufacturing anymore. So you got to learn the new technology can be applied. We call the Industry 4.0. So this is the only way you can actually survive for the automotive. It's more fun, actually.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would like to ask Mr. Xiao. I mean, you are also representing CGCC, Chinese investments in the US, and I know the organization has been serving the members, your member companies. So what is the sentiment among your member companies about, future, prospects of investing in this country?
Yeah, if you, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a very good summit. If you saw the report published by CGCC for year of 2019 for the investment to United States from China, that basically the drop of the investment had been 90%. It's dramatic. And I think I talked to many people, business partners over here and the investor from China. So I think we mentioned some of the point over there is the uncertainty being detected. So the business cooperation is basically about the trust, about the trust is the foundation, how you're looking forward to work with our partner. And when you have the uncertainty to see looking forward, you're not sure whether or not you can really get it out through, you definitely will shrink back from your initiation. So that's that big concern so far we've been seeing. Even though I do see a lot of people still have confidence in working together. It's very good examples left, two examples as states of the factor. While that's also the part of the reason we believe in the investment will build a win-win situation. That's why ICBC, our bank, is in the first place, support Fuyao in their factory from the establishment. So, and that we believe in the success of the cooperation.
Yeah. And also, recently some people are talking about, the possibility of, removing the supply chain or moving the supply chain to, other parts of the world from China. I would like to ask Ms. Xiao, I know you have, done research into the topic. I would like to ask your take on that perspective.
Actually, Jeff covered a little bit about the modern manufacturing. I think that this is a good question. First of all, we should believe in the market force. So the market is not this automatically in the future is market-driven factors out there. What is second is the modern manufacturing has been so different than it has been 40 years or 10 years ago. And China is very unique in the new center of the supply chain because of the background, the high efficient government support, the human capital. If you take example like the Apple assembling line in China, it requires about 7,000 engineers and over 40 or 50,000 skillful worker in the whole assembling line. Over there is remarkable and it's pretty unique. You hardly can find anywhere else in the world. But moving forward, there's also some, we call it low-end or simple assembling or manufacturing job. It's switched from China to like Vietnam or other countries as well. It's very nature what we thought in past of years switched from like Japan or Korea to China. So I think it's kind of like a redesign of the manufacturing and redesign of the supply chain. Right now, supply chain in the world I don't see, I do not have the concern that whether or not China can suffer from a big switch of the supply chain like it is designed the way. And I still believe in the competitive advantage of China to be one of the manufacturing, but we do see the signs that right now this advantage from the location, like we knew the infrastructure of China is very good, and the connection with the Southeast Asia and the whole Asian area. We see Chinese manufacturing is expanding from China, became part of the model like a core in China and expand to the Asian area. So I think it will be the trend for the Asia.
Thank you, Ms. Xiao. I would like to ask Vivek. I mean, you mentioned, things between Kentucky and China are going very smoothly and successfully. And also in May, I know your state hosted the 5th U.S.-China Governors Forum, and a lot of Chinese provinces, enterprises are coming to your state. So from this meeting, what kind of message you get from, attendance from China and also from states? And also, do you feel that, the current trade tension between the two countries will affect the future prospects of investing, Chinese companies investing in your state?
Yeah, there's no doubt that what's going on at the national level between our two countries will have an impact. But our view in Kentucky is more of a long-term view. First and foremost, it's just mission critical that we build great relationships. The more that people have strong relationships together, the more they're just going to be friendly, the more they're going to love on each other, the more they're going to be helpful to each other. And in the world of capital, capital goes where capital is welcomed. So, while at a national level, the message may be out there that America's not open for business, I assure you, anyone in this room who wants to come to Kentucky next week, you will find a very welcomed reception, because we're welcoming our friends from China as well as other countries, but we want to do more business. And so when the governor and I were in China in November, we caught wind of this U.S. Governors China Forum. It had been taking place since 2011. And, it was productive, but we raised our hand and we asked, could we host this event in Kentucky? And so we were granted the opportunity in May to host this Governors Forum. And what we did was rather creative. The whole thing sold out. We had many of you, some of you in this own room were there. And one of the things that we did that was rather creative is that while we brought in governors from China and governors from the United States to meet, and quite frankly, while the politicians met in one room, we created a parallel track. If any of you here in the States have seen the show Shark Tank, we came up with our own version of Shark Tank, where while the politicians were meeting, we figured out what would it look like if we welcomed capital to Kentucky, investors, Chinese investors, American investors, and then we also did what we do very well as business people. We identified projects that could be simultaneously presented. It was at that event that an investor from China was introduced for the first time to an entity in Western Kentucky that resulted in an over $200 million deal, and that's just phase one. We're very optimistic that we're going to see another phase continue. And so, the main thing that we have been doing is just building relationships. And I'll say this also to help, because I think these comments were made earlier. It's very important. On the first day of the Chinese New Year, February the 15th, we threw open the doors of the governor's mansion. First time this has ever been done, to our knowledge. It was done in Kentucky. I don't know about elsewhere. And we invited 180 students, Chinese students studying in America, to come to the mansion. We had Chinese performing artists. We served Chinese food. We flew the Chinese flag, the American flag, the Kentucky flag, and we just had a wonderful cultural event. And at the end of that, we had 180 students, and it gave us the opportunity to say to the next generation for the very first time, be encouraged. You're welcomed here. And out of that has come a lot of great things that give us great excitement.
That's very exciting to learn about. You're creating a very investment-friendly environment for all these investors. So I believe in the future, definitely more companies might be interested. Maybe you should talk
Before
to
you know it,
Jeff
everyone in Ohio is going to start kind of coming south.
No, one comment I know, China, we have a multi, okay? So Kentucky, they have a great whiskey, all right?
That's
Yeah.
right. Good
Okay.
brown water.
Yes,
Bourbon.
yes, okay.
Yeah. Actually, I would like to ask, since Fuyao, from the documentary I learned, and also from the reports, learned that since Ms. Liu joined Fuyao, actually, the company started to profit, getting good business. So do you think in the future you might expand to other parts of the US if everything goes right?
Well, as a matter of fact, we already did. We just bought a new actually place in South Carolina because the BMW was there. Actually, we supply the BMW, the glass. We win the BMW X Series. If you talk about the Fuyao, thanks Chairman's the big vision. He actually can see something far behind, for the automotive industry. So that's why, when we signed up the strategic alliances with General Motors, that was back to 2010. So 2016, that decision, we gotta have a manufacturing inside the USA to supply the glass for General Motors. And at the same time, we heard about all the speakers talk about the trust. Really, that we're partners, probably as you're perfect, when back to home, when in fact your wife, your husband, it's a partners, you're never gonna win, okay? Nobody's gonna win for that. But we actually try to encourage people, we need to work together because automotive is a non-stop production line. So any people play different role, you gotta work as a team to make that happen. So this is the reason why we encourage the people, you know what? We don't care about your background, what your color gonna be, because we actually serve for the OEM, because we got to deliver our good quality parts to the customer. And earn the trust, we go through communication, really build good relationships right now. After film was stopped, actually, after 2 years, we have the great culture established at Fuyao, because when Chairman hired me, first day, hey, Jeff, you know what? You got to treat your employee like your family member, okay? That's my vision. My mission, we have to build a great culture, build a passion. We got work as a passion people and deliver the good products for the OEMs. This is the reason why customers like us. Every single year, we gain our sales revenue by 30% every year, and we double our profit every year right now. But cannot be doubled next year, but we're gonna try to be there. Thank you, yeah, thank you.
Congratulations in your advance. And also, Mr. Xiao, ICBC is a heavyweight in finance industry, and also, world top 500. So I would like to ask how this current, trade tension affecting your industry, and especially your own, performance in the U.S. or your business in the U.S.
Right. This is the question that I've been asked a lot from everywhere. And we do, for ICBC US performance, the majority of the clients were the US Fortune 500. So we do not directly impacted by the trade debate, but we do have some clients. So I would like to see, we're seeing the current credit market has been suffered from this type of the trade conflicts, and especially in the certain areas for our clients, like in the retail market, like in the manufacturing business, they've been impacted a lot by the tariffs being imposed into the trade. And I do see, looking at the future, it may expand from the real economic level to the further virtual economic level. What I mean is services industry, banking, or consulting. So this is the first place of the impact that we're seeing. I am a strong believer of the market economic, and I think the market will always find a way out. So I do have the confidence that it could be a whole new world or the new stage to some of our clients. Thinking even a workout several years later, you may not really be part of the player. So that's, I think it's a problem over here in the United States. And if some investment shake it out from the current investment, that will further integrate the impact the business scale as well.
Okay, yeah. But also, I mean, we know that a new round of trade talk is going to happen immediately after October, I mean, early next month. So what is your, I mean, expectation, or what is your hope for that trade talk?
Well, again, I'm a strong believer in the cooperation. For what I'm seeing, today I think it was tremendous forum that we're looking back to the 40 years and looking forward. So if you look back at 40 years, you will find the Sino-US relationship is one of the greatest relationships ever happened in the world. So why do people even want to root in it? Why do people want to stop it? So I do believe anyway you lead to the way for the successful conversation, but it may have some obstacles currently that I believe, like we mentioned, our leaders should have the wisdom to solve it.
Okay, thank you. I think, I mean, because of the time, we couldn't take any question from the audience, but I think we've got a lot of, ideas from these three gentlemen, and also thanks Mr. Xiao and Mr. Vivek, and also Mr. Liu. And I believe, just as Ms. Xiao mentioned, the US-China relations has been wonderful over the last 40 years, and there's no reason that we should change this good relationship into something that is detrimental to the development or to the benefits of the two people. So let's hope after today's session we have more ideas for how the two sides can work together, and especially we have, the previous speakers have shared their insights into this topic. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.